Understand how we even get to this point of total exhaustion? Our source shares this deeply relatable anecdote. I want you to think of a completely normal, straightforward boy. His one real weakness? He thought entirely with his heart. When someone showed him even a little bit of kindness, he just accepted them completely. But slowly, people began to use that softness. He'd break easily because, well, he attached himself so quickly. Eventually, someone came into his life, and he changed his entire personality, his whole world, just for them. And when that person inevitably left, he was completely, utterly shattered.
But that night, lying in bed, just staring up at the ceiling, he had this massive realization. It hit him. People don't break you. Your own expectations do. He realized that his own unshielded softness, his own unnecessary love, really, was the actual cause of his downfall. It wasn't just the world being cruel out there. It was his own emotional triggers totally dictating his behavior and leaving him wide open. So that night, he made a really pivotal decision. He decided to gain absolute control over himself. Not to become some cold, unfeeling machine, no, but to absolutely never let his emotions be his weakness again.
But to stop this cycle for ourselves, we really have to understand the core mechanics of our feelings. I mean, where do these overwhelming emotions actually come from? Because they aren't just spontaneously born out of nowhere, right? They're triggered. When you feel a sudden, massive surge of anger, it's triggered by someone's specific words. When you feel shattered, it's triggered by the fear of loss. If you don't learn to identify the exact external actions that set off your internal alarms, you are going to keep experiencing the exact same pain, just over and over again. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the exact behavioral shift required to stop that cycle of emotional pain. Think of it as basically overriding your brain's automatic alarm system. You know, that exact moment your amygdala tries to hijack your logic and throw you straight into fight or flight? Here is the blueprint to stop it. Step 1. Identify the trigger. You need to know exactly what words or actions make you want to lash out or cry. Step 2. Recognize the urge to react. Actually feel it rising up inside you, but, and this is absolutely key, don't act on it yet. Step 3. Choose silence. Once you understand the trigger, the emotion naturally begins to calm down. You just stop being a puppet to the things happening around you. And this brings us to a kind of dark psychological truth we all just have to face. People don't grab hold of your goodness. They exploit your weakness. They strike exactly where you are softest inside. So hiding your softness isn't about becoming a cruel or vindictive person. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a highly strategic move to ensure manipulators literally cannot weaponize your vulnerabilities against you. You can still smile, you can absolutely still be polite, but what's actually going on inside your head, that needs to be a secret that only you know. Which naturally leads us to the illusion of trust. You know, we often think betrayal comes from our enemies, but the deepest betrayals always seem to come from those we trust the most. The mistake isn't necessarily that people change. I mean, it's human nature to change, right? The mistake is our own rapid, unquestioning trust. Our source suggests a major mindset shift here. Trust, sure, but be mentally prepared on the inside that the world and the people in it can change at absolutely any moment. When you drop those rigid expectations, you don't break. And when you don't break, staying in control of your behavior is honestly effortless. So what does this all mean? Why do people actually try to hurt you in the first place? Well, when we look closely at toxic behavior, we find a truly fascinating motive. They don't just want to cause pain for the sake of it. No, they are specifically trying to force a messy, highly emotional reaction right out of you. They want to see you scatter, get totally upset, maybe say things you'll regret later. They are actively looking to pull your emotional trigger just so they can watch you lose control. Honestly, that is their whole game. And how do you win that game? It's simple. You refuse to play. Silence is not a weakness. It is a weapon. This absolutely emphasizes the profound power of the pause in our behavior. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you and you just stand there calmly, totally without reacting, you completely cut their power. A person is literally only as big as the influence they can leave on you. By deliberately choosing silence, you render their attempts completely, 100% useless. The absolutely crucial point to remember here is that every single person seeking to manipulate you just wants your attention. So when you pull your attention right back to yourself, back to your own mind, your own life, and you flat out deny them the emotional reaction they're fishing for, watch what happens. They lose their influence over you. The people trying to hurt you will eventually just fade away, simply because you stopped reacting to them, and you get to reclaim all that wasted energy. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive mental shift required to make this jump, moving from an emotionally driven brain to a logically driven brain. The emotionally driven brain puts the heart first, right? It's naive, it believes every smile hides a good intention, and it trusts instantly. And it's incredibly dangerous because it ignores reality. On the flip side, the logically driven brain puts the mind first. It observes actions instead of just blindly listening to sweet words. It expects change and sees the world as it actually is, not just how we kind of hope it to be. Now, I want to pause here for a second to correct a pretty major misconception. When the source talks about becoming emotionless, it definitely doesn't mean becoming a sociopath or turning into a block of stone. It means becoming emotionally untouchable. It is not the absence of feeling, it's the absolute control over your reaction to those feelings. You still feel the pain, the anger, the joy. Of course you do, but you don't let those feelings dictate your next move. The reins of your life are firmly in your own hands, not in the hands of your fleeting emotions. As you start building this control, you'll uncover a brand new tool, and that is distance. Distance is your greatest strength. You see, you don't become stronger by constantly fighting chaotic, toxic people. No way. You become stronger by stepping away from them. Distancing yourself from their messy energy and their little games provides you with the crystal clear thinking necessary to become this unbendable, highly resilient individual. And let me tell you, clear thinking makes you incredibly hard to manipulate. And this whole process leads to a really beautiful phase, returning to yourself. Shrinking your social world isn't about isolating yourself because you're scared. It's a deliberate, highly conscious choice. It's like you're taking all the love, energy, and effort you used to pour into people who just didn't appreciate it, and you're redirecting the whole shebang entirely into your own growth. You literally stop spending your emotions in the wrong places. This is the moment when your silence becomes heavy and your presence becomes calm, but incredibly, incredibly strong. Now, if you're carrying trauma from past betrayals, please remember this quote from the source. A burned person isn't weak. They are strong because they recognize the fire. To become truly emotionally untouchable, you have to let go of those old memories, because that is exactly where your weakness is locked away. Loosening your grip on the past doesn't erase what happened, obviously, but it absolutely removes its heavy, paralyzing weight. It's like looking at the past as an old train station that you just no longer stop at. You've learned from the fire, and now you know exactly what to avoid. So let's quickly summarize the traits of this incredibly powerful new version of you. First, you maintain a much smaller, far safer circle. Second, you conserve your emotional energy like it's a precious resource, handing it over only to the people who truly deserve it. Third, you practice detached, calm observation. It's almost like treating life like a movie, where you're simply watching the events unfold without getting completely swept away by them. And the final result, an unshakable inner peace that you built, entirely with your own hands. But there is one final boss to defeat on this journey. What happens when you finally stop being afraid of loneliness? As humans, we are deeply, profoundly terrified of being alone. But the moment you embrace solitude instead of running away from it, something almost magical happens. Your deepest fear just vanishes. And a person who is no longer afraid of being alone is a person whom no external force can ever control again. You completely stop depending on others for your happiness. By understanding your triggers, choosing silence over reaction, and trusting your logic way more than your fleeting feelings, you become completely emotionally independent. The power has actually always been in your hands. You just have to stop giving it away to everyone else. So, I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to build a peace that no external voice can ever break?